Welcome back to yet another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. As always, like and subscribe, share with a friend, a relative, an associate, a colleague, an enemy, and anyone in between. It's all appreciated. There's a lot to go over, so without further ado, let's get into it. So following on from Joseph Parker joining Sky and Boxer, apparently he's saying, well, the Joe Joyce fight can still happen. He can come over to Sky and we can make that fight. Frank Warren recently he came on Twitter. I know that he did the interview the other day, I think it was with IFL, where he's basically like, Joseph didn't even tell us that, yo, they've made me an offer, like, can you match it, can you better it, like, what's going on? He just literally called him up and said, yeah, sorry Frank, I'm going with Boxer, they made me an offer and I've accepted. And he felt a bit blindsided. Now on this particular occasion, I've got to side with Frank Warren, because you had the agreement in place or whatever, but Joseph Parker has been like, well, now I'm gonna go look out for what's best for me. Maybe he felt like he didn't want to be B-side again. He wanted to be on a platform where he was able to call the shots or be the A-side in the broadcast, which, okay, I can kind of get that, but like, you gave your word to a degree, or however it came up. Although this does now throw a bit of question into this whole Anthony Yarde Artur Beterbiev thing, because it's not often unless Frank has something signed, documented, and there's a graphic and a logo, and you have the press conference and then people get in the ring, you can't always take him at his word that something's done. He's like, it's a done deal, it's happening. And then you don't hear no details, and lo and behold, this happens. Now I've seen, obviously, Ben Shalom has also said that they offered Joe Joyce 1.2 million to come over to Sky Box Office. He said, well, you raise his platform, he can come over here and then he can go back, I guess with a much bigger profile. That's obviously saying that Sky Sports has the bigger platform than BT Sports does, which isn't a lie. But I guess, pride and ego from someone like Frank Warren's going to be like, well, that's never going to happen. You're not going to, quote unquote, use my guy to raise the profile of your guy, win, lose or draw. Now look, none of us want network politics and, this broadcaster can't work with this broadcaster, and but I get why this fight probably doesn't happen now or anytime in the near future, unless it's mandated by a sanctioning body and you got to pay a purse bid, and whoever wins it gets the rights to it. Because I can't see how they're going to coincide and do a cross promotion with that. It's a big mess. And look, as much as he was one of my favorite boxers a few years back, like, Joseph Parker's created this whole issue. He's definitely the reason this fight ain't happening. This is currently, in this last couple years, this is actually his second duck. The Hrgovic duck was prevalent, talking about, the damaged elbows or whatnot, and then coming out and pretty much, quote unquote, signing the Joe Joyce fight straight away. Then literally ducking Joe Joyce to go to Boxer, and I think he's fighting Lucas Brown as his next opponent. Yeah, not really a good look. I can't really co-sign it, and boy, gotta do better. But let's see what decent fights he can get over on Boxer, and let's see how Ben is gonna put this one out, because it looks like that him and Adam Smith have now made even more of an enemy of Frank Warren, who obviously had the Eddie Hearn energy. Now maybe Ben Shalom might start getting a little bit of that as well. Who knows? So 258 put out a poster the other day with Joshua Buatsi on one side and Dimitri Bivol on the other side, basically saying that Buatsi is ready for Bivol business, sort of we're pushing for the fight or whatever. Good promotional stuff, but ultimately it doesn't mean anything at this point, not until fight signed or whatever. But if that fight is to happen next, I still believe it's way too soon for Joshua Buatsi, especially for the type of fighter he is. I don't see how he can how he wins that one. I don't think he's busy enough to be able to, force Bivol to make mistakes. Bivol doesn't give enough openings, enough response. He's too responsible. He doesn't make those same mistakes that a lot of counter punchers can capitalize on. So it's a tough ask. I would still recommend a couple fights beforehand. You need just some more seasoning on there if you really want to get to that level and stay there and actually become a champion. But we'll wait and see for future reference as to what's about to happen with that one. So on Monday, during Monday Night Smoke, I kind of went in a little bit on the whole Anthony Yarde and Artur Beterbiev situation. Now I feel like it's only right I add some context into what it was I said on there. A lot of you would have seen that because I know a lot of you from my channel watch, the Undefeated podcast, Monday Night Smoke, the breakdown, everything, and I appreciate that. Now, I feel like I addressed this just because I randomly bumped into Spencer Fearon earlier on today. We didn't discuss anything to do with boxing. I just sort of kept him moving, but it made me feel that, well, I know he's very close to that team. So let me just clean up a little bit of what I said. Now, do I think that Anthony Yarde's career has been horribly mismanaged? From an in-ring point of view, yes, 100%. The whole Adidas deal, or however that breaks down, separate, so the ventures outside of the ring, they could all be perfect. I don't know how they work out. I don't know how much money he gets from all of that. Don't care, that's his business. I don't know if it's just a case of you just get free Adidas stuff, or there's a big fat check at the end of a contract, whatever. But inside the ring is the problem. Now look, what was it, 19 amateur fights supposedly, or something along those lines? It's not a huge amount, and that's fine. So you could say you've got your first 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 fights, learning fights against different types of opponents, and you work on things, and you understand your craft, you do everything you've been working on in training, and you perfect and fine-tune things to the point that you become a better boxer, and then you gradually should from there step up to, I don't know, I guess at this point, British level, then work through the British scene a bit, then work through the European scene, then work through the world scene en route to go into your world title. Now that wasn't done, and primarily one of the reasons they said was, well, we don't need to go the traditional route, like we do things our own way. Okay, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to do as they please, right? But you say, all right, who have you been fighting? Like, who within your current body of work is going to prepare you for a elite, not even a world level, an elite level operator like Artur Beterbiev? Sergey Kovalev, who was a very much faded version of the Crusher that everyone knew and was feared at a certain point in the in the light heavyweight division. You lost that fight. Lyndon Arthur, well, it took you 2 attempts to get a conclusive victory. Travis Reeves, no. Dex Spellman, no. The middleweight, the African middleweight that you fought in Spain just to come back from the loss, no. So there's literally levels being skipped and avoided on numerous occasions on this route to the top. And I think part of what made me say what I said on Monday Night Smoke, I saw an interview from Tunde where he said something along the lines of, we've worked really hard for this. Like, we deserve to be where we're at. We've worked hard, and whatever. Now, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of hard work that goes in the gym and whatnot, but there's absolutely no way, even being deluded, you can tell me that the body of work you have as a resume entitles you to 2 quote-unquote mandatory title shots. So it's not like voluntary, like, oh, you're just being given an opportunity, even though, yeah, I guess technically both of them, you agreed something prior to the mandatory actually being called, but you were quote unquote the number one in the division. You was about to be made mandatory. It was going to go to purse bids, and they're just doing the voluntaries instead. But you get 2 cracks at that, and the body of work, Travis Reeves and Dex Spellman and a Lyndon Arthur loss and a win and a Kovalev loss, that is enough for you to say that you've earned where you are? You've earned your position? No, I'm sorry, I can't let that fly. As I said on Monday Night Smoke, Anthony Yard's best win, not the best opponent he's been in with, his best win is at Commonwealth level. Some people put it below British, some people put Commonwealth above British, because it's not just British level fighters that you're fighting. But from what I can remember, it goes Southern or / area champion, English champion, Commonwealth, British, European, then world. So you're below British, never fought for the British title, have only had you've had 2 domestic fights or domestic opponents. Only one of them, I think, was in the top 10 of the domestics at the time. The other one might have just been towards the bottom. It's not great. And then, if you get beat by Beterbiev now, the Buatsi fight is pretty much dead in the water, unless it's literally an end of the road fight for both of you. Both of you have taken several losses, and now, okay, a bit like the Khan and Brook thing. It's like, when it was hot, there's a certain point it was hot, then certain people took L's and it just wasn't as hot anymore at that particular point. Yeah, it got hot at the end because both guys were at the end, and it was literally about who had the most amount left out of the 2. But this won't be the same issue, and I don't see Anthony Yard wanting to be someone that sticks around if he's not good enough. And the way how things are going at the moment, if he doesn't win the title on the 2nd attempt, and especially if he gets knocked out again, I can't see him sticking around for a 3rd go. Nor should he. I mean, if he's got enough money in the bank, he can quite easily do a lot of other things. Like, he's a marketable guy, he's a likable guy. It's just a shame that parts of his management make his whole team disliked. Because what's the one thing you normally hear people say? Oh yeah, I don't mind Anthony Yard, but I can't stand Tunde. That's what you hear. So they are tarred with the same brush. But it's joke. It's not like when you like one, you don't instantly like the other. But when you dislike one, you dislike the other. That's how that synergy works. It's a shame, but it happens. But yeah, back to the reason I said that when he gets beat, Tunde has to go, is because remember, Tunde is not just the trainer, he's his manager as well. You got James Cook in there as well. He seems like he's, righting certain wrongs that have been happening, but there's a lot of bad practice. And the same issues that happened the first time with doing meaningless fights or these nothing fights and getting these highlight reel knockouts, then going straight to world level, getting sparked, coming back down, and now you're going straight back to world level again. And this time off of an inactivity and a 10-month layoff out of the ring, supposedly, if the fight happens next. It's, what they say is like, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But it's like, but if you've actually made that history, you've actually had that history, and you're doing the exact same thing, but for some reason you think that this time it's going to yield different results. And what do they say? Definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, what have you done differently? Like, is it a case that you can't get the right level of opponents because the money's not there? I mean, we already know that Frank Warren admitted that on the what was it, the Fury white card, he wanted to put Yarde on there, but it would have just been a run-out opponent because they were holding onto the mandatory position that they didn't want to jeopardize it, and then people would have moaned. So he decided not to put him on the card. To be fair, I would have taken him just being active at that point. The activity is better than not being active. The fact that you can't afford a top level opponent, or you don't have the confidence in your guy to beat a top level opponent en route to his world championship, tells me quite a bit that you also don't see the huge potential in it. So this almost seems like a cash out to me. And maybe not from Yarde himself. Maybe he probably really does believe that he's gonna win this fight and he's got the tools and whatever. But the way how this whole thing is being maneuvered, it doesn't look like that to me from the team. And I am, I'm sort of worried, and it just doesn't seem like his best interests are being considered at this point. So you know what, let me leave that for now, because I'll get more into that as and when that fight gets announced, if it gets announced, and then maybe everything I'm saying right now obsolete and it's irrelevant because nothing happens. But that's just how I feel about it. So as always, I'm gonna get it off my chest. And last but not least, let me talk about Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Now, supposedly it's official. It's going to be done August the 6th at Madison Square Garden in New York. There was some issues yesterday or on Tuesdays, supposedly around Tommy not having any family or training team being able to go out there. Obviously, John Fury is banned from the US. It looks like Tyson Fury is now banned from the US. Don't know who Tommy's being trained by. And John Fury was on social media saying, look, we will take less money, move it to a different location, and we'll do the fight. I don't know if it is officially done and dusted, but if not, yet again, it's the Fury side causing the problems. Yet again, it's Tommy Fury having a reason not to take the fight. And yeah, you can't, if he pulls out a second time or anything, the fight doesn't happen a second time, like, it's officially a super duck. There's no other way to get around it. And Jake Paul would be an absolute idiot to give him a third opportunity. And then we will literally just know that Tommy Fury is riding Jake Paul's wave for clout and notoriety. Because let's be real, like, when it comes to who's more well known on both sides of the pond, it's Jake Paul. That's not, Love Island aside or whatever Tommy Fury was in, there's no discussion there. I won't spend too much time on that, but that's that one. Okay, so I think I've addressed pretty much everything that's been happening over the week that I'm interested in. Look out for Basis Picks, probably going to take place first thing Saturday morning now, because the weigh-ins are going to be late on Friday, and I'm going to be watching my boy Travis J. I'm waiting for that comedy special. I know that's going to be a good one, so yeah, that video is going to get recorded when I come back. And yeah, look out for maybe another episode, the Hardcore Casual Saturday evening, and then we've got the weekend wrap on Sunday. And from next week, there's gonna be Femme Files is gonna be back, and some few other bits and pieces. I'll explain why I haven't done one in a little while in the next video. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and as always, Hardcore Casual out.